Salutations! Welcome to Pod Mortem. I'm Travis Hunter, joined as always by my co-hosts, my sister, and my brother-in-law.
Hi, I'm Reneé Hunter Vasquez.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
This week, we're broadcasting live from the Recreation Center at Camp Arawak, discussing the 1983 cult classic slasher, Sleepaway Camp. The film, written and directed by Robert Hiltzik, was released 3 years after the original Friday the 13th. Though there are plenty of similarities to the more famous film, at the time of its release it became a box office success. It has since found a cult following in its own right over the years, mostly due to its shocking twist ending. This film was suggested to us by friends of the show, Brooke Ferris and Mandy De La Rosa. Mandy can be found on Instagram at Pinche Mom Jeans. That's PincheMomJeans. So, Sleepaway Camp. What were your first impressions of the film?
This was the first time I've ever seen the film at all.
It was my first time too.
No, me too, honestly.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Because it is a cult classic.
I've heard of it, and I've seen the movie posters for it or whatever, but I've never seen the movie at all, like ever.
It has a reputation. It's pretty infamous because of the ending, I guess.
Right.
And the ending was the only thing I knew about this film going into it.
Same.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
I
all I knew about it was the twist ending.
Yeah, and it made a different watching experience for me, watching this film knowing the ending.
Right.
And
I'm kind of envious of you because you didn't know the ending. Like, I would like to know what that experience was like.
It was something. I mean,
I think it was something for all of us.
Yeah, no, that's
something.
for sure. I can see why the film has, especially considering the context the content of the ending, I can see why it garnered such a following.
Right.
And
Definitely.
such interesting reactions, especially at the time of its release.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense.
But it also makes you wonder, would we even be talking about this? Would it be recommended to us if not for
the
that
ending?
ending?
Yeah. That's honestly a great question.
Or would it just be lost in the other mountain of 1980
Slashers.
slasher? Yeah.
Yeah. It sets it apart, and we
Absolutely.
will get into it.
We will.
I
Just
promise. We're being vague so we can get into it organically, but we will talk about it. So I did mention there are a lot of similarities between this movie and Friday the 13th. Were you guys kind of getting that vibe as you were watching it as well? I don't know when this was written, but I feel like he definitely watched Friday the 13th
Absolutely.
and saw the success of the film and was like, I can do that.
I can do that too.
Yeah. That was like my immediate thought was this is a ripoff.
Really?
I will, like you said, we'll get more into it, but just the opening, I was like, this is a straight Jason ripoff.
No, there's
like,
so much, and we'll be more specific, but not beat for beat or anything like that.
No, of course not.
But there's so much that you can just, if you were to describe the film vaguely, someone could guess it was Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's get into it.
I heard the working title was Camp Crystal Lake.
Now, before we strike this film with a speedboat, we'd like to issue a warning for spoilers. Podmortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you do not wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, let's dive in. So, interestingly, the film begins with a blink and you'll miss it title card dedicating the film to the director's mother.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. Obviously not going to make any jokes about that or anything.
No.
But I will say that this is an interesting film to dedicate to your mother.
Right.
True.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So the film opens proper with credits over establishing shots of a summer camp.
With the world's most dramatic music playing.
That's very cartoony music to me.
It's
really
so
was.
over the top.
Yeah,
There
I was
some-
like, this is not scary.
It's
No.
just
This
like
is Looney
scenic.
Tunes.
It is scenic shots and this intense ass
Yeah.
just blaring.
There were, elements. It almost felt more like music for a mystery film.
Yeah.
That's fair.
No,
Less horror, more mystery. And there is mystery to this film, but I feel like it's a slasher.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It just didn't fit.
The music's just loud. It's not scary.
No.
No,
just
it's not
like,
scary.
hey. It's like, no.
No, it's in your face for
Yeah.
sure.
But the shots that we see are scenic shots of lakes and trees and cabins and stuff like that. And then we hear the echoes of kids playing sports as they kind of show empty soccer fields and empty volleyball courts and everything. But the camp is completely empty. And then we pan from a closed gate that has like a sheriff's warning sign on it.
Yeah.
To the sign for Camp Arawak, which has a for sale sign nailed to it.
Yes.
So I was wondering, like, is this... Because in the next scene, we're taken back in time, I imagine, right?
I guess.
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
I was like, is this camp closed because of what we're about to see?
Yeah,
I
didn't.
see, I didn't
You know
even
what
put
I
that
mean?
together.
I
No, you're
didn't-
totally
I
right.
didn't either.
Like-
I was just like, what the fuck's
Okay.
happening?
Yeah.
I was like, all
Because
right.
the scene we're taken to happens in the 70s.
Right.
And it's a flashback, but they never say 1970
Right,
whatever.
right.
They never
No.
tell you anything. So at the time of the flashback, the camp is still open. And we see two children sitting on the edge of a boat with their father, and they're arguing like kids do about absolutely nothing. And the father's just trying to relax. It's a boy and a girl. The
Very
boy,
relatable. The most relatable scene in the movie.
That's fair. The boy is named Peter, and the girl is named Angela, and they both have wicked accents. I can't tell if they're from Boston or New York.
I was gonna say, is
But
that
she
like
started
Ben?
it.
Yeah.
Ben, what's his face? You always make fun of me for his last name. Ben Fuckface.
Affleck.
Yes.
Ben Affleck. Oh
that
yeah.
kid was straight just Geely. He
No.
was just, hey, what? Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
Like, how about them apples?
Yeah, I was like,
Dad,
what's
get the fuck
happening
out of
here?
here.
Yeah. No, yeah. He said, did you say, Dad, get the fuck out of here? So, two teenagers, I guess, and they seem like they were given their lines yesterday.
Yes. Oh my
That
God.
morning.
Yeah,
That
they're
was-
really bad. They're driving a motorboat, and their friend's water skiing on the back of it. The guy driving is called Craig, and his passenger is Marianne. And Marianne's begging to drive the boat, but Craig's not into it. He's not letting her.
sucks.
No, she does.
They all suck.
And that girl's in the back just like, hey, stop, I want to get off. Hey,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
all
you're
right.
Shut up.
Yeah, get out of here. They didn't care. So the father and the two children are just kind of hanging out on the boat. The father stands up on the boat, and the two kids get behind him and I guess push him over and capsize the boat. But the father does all the heavy lifting in this scene. He plays a part in his own prank because the kids don't push him hard enough. So he's
No.
like, whoa.
Whoa, cartoonish.
Yeah.
And then I would probably be a little more mad if my kids flipped the whole boat over.
Yeah.
and
He's
like,
tried to
"Ah,
push me
you
over."
rascals.
Like,
Yeah,
you
you
kids.
guys.
Yeah.
They're quiet for a second. Just take it. You're wet. You're capsized.
but
they're
they're being
quiet.
quiet.
It's fine.
So Craig finally gives in. He lets Marianne drive the motorboat, and she barely sits behind the wheel, and he's like, "Not too fast."
Yeah, right away.
She
What the
hasn't even
fuck?
done anything yet, and he's already worried. So we see the father is in the water with his two kids, and the father's friend waves at him from the shore, and he's telling him they got to get going soon. And the father waves him off, and he's like, "All right, kids, we got to get going." There's a bit of exposition here because I guess they're taking the kids to go see their Aunt Martha. And Peter asks if some kid named Ricky is going to be there. And the father says, "Oh, Ricky's with his father." So
Right.
we're getting all these character names down
Before.
Right.
of people we're going to meet later.
Yeah.
So Marianne is turned around yelling at her water skiing friend, and she's headed right for the family in the water. The skier is the only one who sees what's going on. And for some reason, Marianne can't hear what she's saying.
Well, because
Yeah.
she's screaming, "Turn the boat!"
Yes.
But the
And
whole
the boy goes, "What'd she say?"
Yeah, but
and
the
the
whole
girl's
time-
like, "I don't know."
none of them are looking forward. How
No.
are you driving this boat for 10 whole ass minutes? They're like across the lake. And you're still
flying.
just,
yeah.
hey, so how are you doing today? How's your day going?
No, and
It's
they-
like, what the fuck?
And the thing is that they don't hear her, but they don't say what.
No,
yeah,
I
nobody's
don't
gonna
care.
turn.
So I mean, I think we see where this is going.
Yes.
They finally see what's going on, and Marianne does some hover hand action over the steering wheel. It's not rocket science. Like, if you're headed towards something,
Don't
yeah,
turn
turn.
toward them.
but she's like,
turn.
ah, and she doesn't know what to do. And Craig tries to take over, but it's too late. And they collide with the family, and they kill two of them. I know that they kill two of them because the water skier is screaming, "We hit them both!"
But dude,
Which is an odd thing to
But
say when
to
you
be
hit three people.
yeah, no.
To be fair, she's the only one with any kind of emotion happening right
that
now.
is very fair.
They hit them and they're just like, oh, like just looking.
Yeah, and then
oh man.
Ah, damn it.
the water skier is screaming, "They're gonna die! I know
I know it.
It's like they're not gonna get them help, and she's screaming for them to get help. Right?
But she doesn't help either.
No. So you see the father and one of the kids dies. So we flash forward 8 years later. I guess Angela survived the crash and she's being raised by her ridiculously theatrical Aunt Martha.
So theatrical.
It's
like over the
unbelievable.
top.
The actress I read did a lot of soap opera work.
You think?
And you're like, of course she did.
She should have stayed there.
Yeah, that bitch is nuts. Like, bro.
It didn't fit the horror thing as well. And she talked to herself a lot.
Yeah, she did.
She would say something and then she was like, no, I'm afraid that wouldn't do.
Oh,
yeah,
It's just
very,
very odd.
It was it was too much.
You're like, so this lady's crazy.
Yes.
But they're preparing to send these kids off to a sleepaway camp. So Angela's going with her cousin Ricky, and Martha's kind of telling him to look after her and everything, kind of take care of her. But she almost forgets some paperwork that she's going to give to them. And I guess Martha's a doctor, and she kind of fudged their physicals so that way they can get into the camp. Now, she tied a string around her finger to remember the physical paperwork.
Yes.
I don't know.
Has that ever worked? Does
Apparently
anybody
it worked for Aunt Martha.
I mean,
guess. But why would you tie a string around your finger? There's not a note attached to it. There's not.
No.
It's just, what is this string
Everyone
for?
knows that string means physical papers.
papers, right?
Everybody knows
you're like,
that.
why is my finger purple? Oh,
Physical
yeah,
papers.
physicals.
Damn it.
So she says not to tell anyone that she did the physicals,
But make sure you don't tell anyone
Exactly.
where you got them.
I'm like, is this against the laws somehow? I'm not aware
Conflict
of
of interest?
this. I guess.
I don't
but
know.
It's a summer camp. It's not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
They're not running for president.
No. So the kids arrive at the summer camp, and they're greeted by a guy wearing the smallest shorts I've ever seen in my entire life.
Can I just say, I'm living for all the tiny shorts and the crop tops in this movie.
Every dude wears a
No.
crop top in this movie.
No.
Why can't we still, like, it's not fair.
No.
Men should be able to have exposed midriffs if they want to.
No. I was born in the mid 80s, so I caught the ass end of it. I'm glad I didn't
was
have to
everything.
live. No, I'm sorry.
It was very interesting, the wardrobe of this film. But you see that guy, and then you see an old man with a cigar who looks like George Burns.
He looks like Mick Jagger's father.
That's fair. That is very fair. That is very fair. You also see a creepy cook named Artie.
Oh, Lord.
And he's ogling these literal children
Yeah,
that are running by.
They're getting off the bus, and this dude's trying to fuck immediately.
It's
Immediately.
ridiculous.
Yeah, they're,
And
what does he call them? Baldies or
yeah,
something?
it's
What
disgusting.
And the
the
guy that he's
fuck?
talking to is like, oh, man, you and your pedophilia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
it's just
stop.
okay. What was happening in the beginning of the 80s that was...
I have no idea.
People are just
Nobody's
like,
gonna
oh, that's
blink?
normal.
Yeah, it's
I was
fine.
like, what?
And he didn't seem to mind. His name was Ben, the
Must
other
see,
cook.
His friend.
It's all
Yeah.
them little shorts that you want people to be wearing.
Yeah, exactly.
They
They
made it
ruined it for
crazy.
everyone. Very interestingly, Ben, the guy that chastises and then laughs it off, is played by Robert Earl Jones, James Earl Jones's father.
What the? So he was a
Holy
pedophile too?
No, he was the one. He was the one trying to stop
He
it.
was the non-pedophile.
yeah.
Oh, my God.
So I read on Wikipedia that Robert Earl Jones was active during the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s. He worked with
fuck?
Langston Hughes, and he's also in
And
Sleepaway
Sleepaway
Camp.
Camp.
What
the
the
fuck?
I was very just odd. But yeah, he chastises him, and then Artie goes, "There ain't no such thing as being too young. You're just too old." And Ben's like,
Oh, Artie.
Artie. It's like, no, where's
that's-
Chris Hansen?
Call the
Yeah,
cops.
that's not
Why don't you have a
okay.
seat?
Yeah, take a seat, Artie. It's ridiculous. So Ricky's friend Paul comes up and says hello, and Angela's too shy to respond. They have a secret handshake kind of that's clearly not been rehearsed enough because
Yeah,
they nearly
no
missed their
shit,
hands
yeah.
when they
It's
do
been
this.
a year. They haven't seen each other.
But the handshake is one move. They couldn't even get it. So Paul, after he says hello, he walks away and he turns around because he remembers. He's like, Judy, a friend of ours, she's gone through puberty over the summer, and he's very excited about it. And then Ricky's like, what? And he's
They
super
were
excited
steadies
too.
last year,
They
Yeah,
were.
Ricky
he
and
does
Judy.
say
He
that.
says that they were steady.
It was summer love.
Summer love in the 80s. Right after he says that, he's walking Angela to her cabin, and they actually bump into Judy, who just completely blows him off.
Who is a grown woman.
Who is?
Yeah.
She's like 10 years older than
Easily.
Ricky. She has to
Oh
be.
my God.
Judy is a at least in her mid-20s.
Yeah, and she says that girls develop quicker than boys. It's like, you're just trying to excuse
Yeah,
that you're 30 years old.
Oh, don't mind my face.
No, don't worry about that.
We
yeah.
mature quicker.
Just keep acting. It's fine. So after Angela goes into her camp, he actually gets into a little minor argument with Judy. And then as she's walking off, he calls her a bitch under his breath.
Does. But again, even that argument was so theatrical.
No,
like,
it was.
It's like the acting is so over the top in most of this movie.
Whenever I see acting like this, I'm like, is this a bad script? Or is it bad acting? Or is it a
bad something.
combination, a little tag team action of this?
It's bad something.
So the next scene, they're in the girls' cabin, and Meg and Susie, they're the camp counselors that are keeping watch of the girls. They introduce themselves, and for some reason, Angela's staring a hole through Judy, but not like angrily staring a hole.
No,
she's just staring at her and not blinking or breaking eye contact in the slightest. And Judy's not down with it.
No.
At all. The man with the very short shorts that we saw earlier is Ronnie, the head counselor.
Who's trying his best.
He really is trying his best.
Is that the beefcake guy?
Yeah.
He apparently...
He's doing the best he can.
Dude.
He, I guess, warned them about Angela beforehand.
Yeah.
Before they got there, because they're like, oh, this is the one Ronnie warned us about. So there's already been talk about her before they even arrive at the camp.
Man, those girls are all dicks.
They
don't
are.
understand.
They were.
Is that what it is to be a girl? You're just a dick all the time?
That's a big part.
It can be. It can be.
Man.
So the next morning, Meg calls Ronnie over to Angela's table because Angela hasn't been eating at all. The other thing that's a big issue is she also hasn't spoken to anyone in days.
At all. Not
At
since
all.
she's gotten there.
Like we said, Ronnie seems really nice, and he offers to take Angela into the kitchen to maybe find something that she would like to eat as opposed to the stuff that they're serving everybody else. When he takes her into the kitchen, he introduces her to Artie, the creepy cook from earlier.
Who's drinking a beer.
Who is drinking a beer, and he's like, hey, man, can you be
a little more discreet?
Yeah. And his version of discreet is just putting the beer down. He doesn't do anything. Of course, he starts to be a creep as soon as Ronnie takes off. Like, he doesn't even...
Away.
Yeah,
There's
not
no build
even...
up. There's no, hey, I'm going to get your trust.
He just immediately is like, all right.
Right, let the molestation begin.
Yeah, he
terrible.
skipped the grooming chapter in the pervert handbook. He just jumped right into it.
Thankfully, it doesn't end the way he hopes.
No, not at all.
Ricky goes to find...
Because Ricky's not about that
No,
life.
he's not. He goes to find Angela, and he asks Meg where Angela is, and Meg just starts talking straight shit, and he defends Angela. He's taken his mom's advice.
Ricky
He's doing his
is
best.
a ride or
Right,
die.
right.
He
He is.
has to be given that.
He's doing his best. He defends Angela, and then he goes into the kitchen in the walk-in, and he sees Angela's cornered by Artie, and Artie's belt is unfastened.
Yep.
And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And he loses it, rightfully.
Yes.
But then Artie starts losing it, and then he's like, he grabs Ricky and throws him up against the wall.
yeah.
He's like, no, don't tell anybody about this. And he's losing his mind, and then as they run out, he punches a box, like, foiled again.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Fucking hell.
like-
the word for them meddling kids.
Exactly. And so I know this is a slasher film, so I'm like, okay, I hope Artie
You're
is the
first.
first
Yeah,
target. Thankfully, we don't have to wait too long.
Not at all.
For this to get going. Artie and Ben are like working on a stew or something in the largest
a
pot
lot of
I've
corn.
ever seen
They're trying to
Yeah.
make
in
it
my
popcorn.
entire life.
That's a big ass pot.
It was like 5 feet tall. It was like,
And I've worked in a kitchen since I was 16, and I've never seen a pot that big.
is that customary? I've never gone to camp.
I get right.
You know,
I don't
maybe
know,
this
they
is
got a lot of
just-
kids to
I
feed.
guess.
I don't know why I assumed they just had like 50 pots going, like, churning them out. No, they have one man-sized pot. So Ben takes a powder. Outside he goes, hangs out for a second, and Artie's left alone in the kitchen. So Artie stands on a chair to look into this giant pot. And as this begins to happen, we see a POV shot
Yes.
of somebody sneaking around the kitchen. And then they see Artie, and they push him directly on his ass. They're trying to push him into the pot, it seems. He catches himself and he braces himself on a shelf that's above the pot. And
But
he's
like grasping with the tips of his
barely
fingers.
touching. And then he says, "You could have killed me.
Yeah.
Now help me down." And then I'm so confused by this because he doesn't need to be helped down. He's not up high. All he has to do is push himself up. He's standing on a chair.
Not at all.
It literally
Not
makes
at all.
no sense.
No, logistically, this one makes no sense.
No, it's not as if...
Even more so in a second. It makes even less sense.
Yes, it's not like he's on a ladder. It's not, he's not hanging from a ledge.
No, he's not.
It literally makes no sense. So you see hands pull the chair that he's standing on. They pull it away. And as they pull him away, he decides to brace himself on the pot of boiling water, which he pours all over himself.
Pulls down on himself.
Right.
Scalding on the floor.
Again, you don't think I'm going to fall to the left or to the right.
No.
It's, hey, let me just pull this pot on me.
I would rather
I'd rather just fall on the floor.
Well, no, yeah. And there was nothing next to him.
No, it was absolutely ridiculous. But his burns looked good. His burns and boils looked
great.
good.
Yeah.
Now, I will say...
And it was a creative way, I guess, to kind of introduce us to the violence.
No, that's fair.
But it was ridiculous.
It was very ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, I will say there's a lot of POV going on.
Yes.
Because you see the POV shot from the killer. You see a POV shot from Artie looking at his burned arms. I expected to see a POV shot of like a mouse in the corner watching all this
Like, oh, shit,
go
what's
down.
happening?
Like, damn, this kitchen's fucked up. You know? So Artie screams for like 15 years. In the shot, Ben walks back in. You see a shot of Artie screaming. You see a shot of Ben reacting to the screaming. Then you see Artie screaming. Then you see Ben react to the screaming. Then you see Artie scream. It's like, we get it.
A lot of these scenes are so dragged out and drawn out.
That did not need to happen. Now, I will say, I believe in order to be a feature film in the United States,
you feel it
needs to be 80 minutes long.
No, and you
this movie,
feel it. You feel the
damn,
stretch.
yeah.
You feel the stretch of
This
it.
movie, if I'm not mistaken, ends at the 80-minute mark, and there's about 4 minutes of credits. So scenes like this make sense because they're like, we gotta be a feature.
No,
We gotta reach this
you
length.
felt it. It was fuck.
Yeah.
So, the next scene, you see some EMTs carting Artie away, and they ask a doctor. It's Mel who runs the camp. He owns the camp.
That's Mick Jagger's dad.
That's Mick Jagger's dad. Yeah. And Mel is like asking about the prognosis, and the doctor goes, "Oh, he's badly burned all over, especially his face."
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
It's like, are you a doctor?
That's
Are you
his medical
'Cause
opinion.
we know.
Especially.
We saw all of that. Like,
yeah, we know that.
it was mostly concentrated on his face. So Mel is the owner of the camp, and he is very into PR. He's trying to keep the camp looking good.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anybody to find out about this, so he lights up a cigar and he tries to sweep this whole thing under the rug. He goes and he talks to Ben, and he's like, "Hey, basically, you're the new leader of the kitchen. It'd be a shame if the camp..."
Yeah, he just offers them money. Just
Yeah. He's like, "How about I give you $50 extra a week?" And he does this in front of his brigade, and he offers the brigade $15 extra a week. If I'm in the brigade, I'm like, "But Ben just got..."
I got a mouth too.
Yeah,
I like talking
Not
too.
only that, who's cleaning that kitchen? Those fly strips were fucking disgusting.
Can we talk about the fly strips?
What the fuck was that?
Oh my God.
You can't change those like every other day or that shit looked like it's been there
No,
some
it's
months.
bad.
The
No, it was-
EMT is calling the health department on his way out of the
Like,
Not
Yeah.
only
See
that,
that?
think about it.
Oh
They
my
just
God.
opened camp
Yeah.
for
Yes.
these kids.
No, it was
Those flies are from
horrible.
last
yeah,
summer.
yeah.
The deal they make is they're like, "Okay, if anyone asks, just say Artie found another job," which is really messed up. I hate
Yeah.
Artie, but they're like, "Oh, he's never coming back. He's too burned.
He's
never
He's
coming
too
back to
burned."
work."
Did you hear what the doctor said? Especially on his face.
So they're already writing him off. So in the next scene, they're in the boys' barracks in the cabins. And Ricky and Paul are pranking some kid named Mozart. And you'd think with everything that Angela is dealing with, Ricky wouldn't be a bully because he's defending someone against bullies. And he's like, "All right, let's go fuck with Mozart."
I
Yeah.
think this is supposed to be like a boys will be boys type
Kind of a
of,
thing.
oh, look how much fun they're having. Because this isn't the only time that they show the boys playing around and pranking each other.
True.
And again, it feels... I mean, maybe one scene, but it feels superfluous that they do it
absolutely.
more than once. But I don't think it was meant to be played as bullying. I think it was meant to be like, oh, look, they're having so much fun.
But they have Mozart put like a cloth over his eyes, and they make him try to do a sit-up. And when he does the sit-up, they move the cloth, and he sits up right into Paul's bare ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets
How is
ass
this a
in the
prank?
face.
Yeah.
That's not, I'd be mad.
It was
Yeah.
1983.
I guess. I mean,
I can tell from the
That's
clothes.
gonna be my excuse
I
for
know,
everything.
that's-
the pranks are very weak in this film. You got kids
No,
knocking
yeah.
over a boat, and you got to
Yep.
sit up into a bare ass.
Yep.
So far, they're not doing too good. They're not the next Jackass. Let's just put it that way. So Gene, the boys' camp counselor, comes in and they decide to go play baseball. Now, I care as much about this as I do about real life baseball, which is to say not at all.
Fucking zero.
And granted, the scene's like 3-4 minutes long, which when you think of an 80-minute movie, that's a pretty big percentage of the runtime.
Yes, and the whole time I'm waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, and nothing
ever happens.
Now, I will say, they did call a kid safe who was clearly out.
He was out. But
so
didn't he have money?
The fix was in.
He said, I got money on you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, maybe that was just to establish that the other team was a bunch of assholes.
I guess.
Those guys are in the movie.
They are in the movie, but god damn, that scene was boring.
No, it was.
Like, I could feel my eyes
pointless.
glazing over trying to keep track.
I mean, it was filler, but I guess it
absolutely
was to look, these guys are dickheads.
Nah, you do make a point.
I mean, but still, it was pretty pointless. Like, it was kind of stupid.
The other thing that I guess they were doing is Ricky's team wins the baseball game, and the opposing team of older boys basically is like, oh, we're gonna
older boys.
We'll get you back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're trying to set up this mystery that you don't know who the killer was that got Artie. These kids are assholes. That guy's an ass. It could be anybody.
I get it. I think we could have done that in a minute tops.
Oh yeah, we didn't need a baseball game.
We did not need the play-by-play.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No. So, in the next scene, they're having a dance in one of the cabins, or maybe the recreation center. And it's the most 1980s music of all time that I've ever heard playing. And the older boys are just standing in the middle of the dance hall talking shit about Angela. And
one of them goes, man, I've been watching her all week. She is fucked
Yeah, she's right there. What the fuck?
And I'm sorry.
That made me laugh out loud.
Can I ask you, if a person is quiet, how did that do you get
not
this reaction
Not only
out
that,
of somebody?
they're being so loud, you're telling me nobody else around them can hear them?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come up and be like, hey.
She hasn't done anything
No,
to
she's
anyone.
literally just been hanging out. She's said nothing, done nothing. So they go over to her and they start bullying her, these two older boys. And Ricky and Paul walk in. Ricky, for some reason, is wearing a massive hat.
Yeah.
He must have stolen it off of a pimp or something. I don't know. I don't know where he got that. He did not come to camp with it.
No,
he didn't.
And he didn't win it in the baseball game either.
Maybe he did.
I was very confused. So Ricky and Paul fight with the boys after one of them slaps that oversized hat off of his head.
That's a fight.
If you want to call it a fight.
It was more just rolling around on the ground. I didn't see a punch thrown. And as they're fighting, Angela just sits there like a stone monument to awkwardness.
Absolutely.
She does nothing.
No,
she just sits there
doesn't
staring
even
straight
react.
ahead. No reaction. For her cousin, who's getting his
shit.
ass kicked
on account of her.
in like 80s.
Because when they walked in, that kid goes, "Yo, Angela, how come you're so fucked up?"
And again, she's done nothing to warrant that label.
Yeah, no.
So Gene comes in and he breaks up the fight, and he takes Ricky away, and Paul hangs back to talk to Angela. And Paul apologizes to her because he knows from Ricky that she lost her family in an accident.
Right.
And so he apologizes to her, and then he just takes her through the history of his friendship with Ricky. It's like, and then last year we were fucking putting underwear on a flagpole.
Yeah, he did.
But
Why?
have you ever talked to somebody who doesn't really give you a lot back and you're kind of stuck talking to them?
Is that how it was?
Yeah, especially if
But
you have a
why
person
go
in
into
common.
that?
What else is he going to say? She's not saying, oh, yeah, Ricky's my cousin.
there's
like,
nothing to
she's
go
not
on.
getting,
I guess,
giving him
but
anything.
that's, like, this is what we do at camp to the
Yeah,
girls.
he did. We ran their underwear up the flagpole.
Yeah, it's
cool
like,
story,
how is that?
bro.
Yeah. Am I supposed to be impressed? Like, it's just weird. So, for some reason, Judy, Ricky's ex-girlfriend, the one that went through puberty over the summer, is just staring at them from across the dance hall.
Yeah.
And
Nobody's doing anything
No,
to
it's
her.
just two
But
people
it's like,
talking.
it looks
Those
like
guys weren't even paying attention to her,
No.
though, honestly.
No.
They were just...
but it looks like a jealousy thing.
But I'm like, what business is it of yours?
It's not.
You never showed any interest in Paul.
No.
It's
Yeah,
not
no
like she
shit.
was
Yeah,
running
Yeah.
after him and then she's like, fucking Angela's talking to him? That never became a thing.
Maybe she's getting attention from a boy.
And that's it? That's all it takes?
I mean, I don't know. They
So-
clearly all have it out for Angela.
For
from
no
the,
reason.
From
Yeah,
the
for
night that they
no
got there.
No reason.
That's-
Everyone except Ronnie and Ricky and Paul.
Yeah.
That's it. So Gene comes back and he says all the boys have to go back to the barracks. And so Paul says goodnight to Angela and Angela says goodnight back. And Paul is so excited.
I love that part.
He's like, good night.
Yeah.
He's so happy. And so she's
'Cause
finally...
that's the first word that she speaks in the
in
whole
the whole
movie.
film, yeah. So it's kind of a big deal. And then I guess the fact that she said it to you probably feels pretty good, especially you're a teenage boy. You know, that's got to feel good. So in the next scene, the older boys are trying to get girls to skinny dip with them. And the girls decline. And for some reason, I don't know if this was to change their minds, all the boys strip naked and jump into the lake.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they got pissed so quick. Well, forget you then. And then they all run in there naked. It's like, what?
Yeah, and the girls don't join. Nobody joins.
No.
And so these two older boys, Kenny and I think his name's Mike.
I think so.
Come up. And Kenny, one of the boys who was bullying Angela at the dance, he gets some girl, Leslie, to go on a canoe with him in the middle of the night.
And the way that he asks her is, you want to go on a midnight ride? I won't try anything, I promise.
I don't believe you.
Which I think is the first thing you say when you're going to try something. She didn't even answer yet.
I didn't take anything, I swear. Well, that guy stole everything.
Took it all.
Yeah. So, obviously, midnight canoeing, that's the safest time to get on a canoe, I'd imagine, you know, when you can't see anything in the water. So, they're on the canoe. Kenny starts teasing her, and he starts rocking the boat until it tips over. Again, the pranks in this film are dog shit. This is not a prank.
I don't. That's what kind of confused me too, because like I said, I'm a little older. I'll be 36 in September. Mm-hmm. But is this the kind of game guys used to run back in the day?
They're
snapping turtles and snakes in the water.
Yeah.
I hope you don't fall in.
Now you're in the water.
You're in the water.
You want to get laid? That's not how that works.
Is she supposed to be like, all right, yeah.
You know what? I do.
Let's go back to the barracks. Yeah. No. Of course, as soon as she's in the water, what does she say?
Pissed.
She's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
She's mad and she has every right to
your
be.
Mac skills work.
Not
it's a
so much.
legitimate reaction.
He needs to go back to the drawing board, Kenny. So Leslie's not having it. She swims back to the shore. And Kenny goes under the canoe and he's calling for Leslie, who he saw start to swim back to the shore. It's not like she was just there. And he's just like, Leslie.
No.
And it's like, what are you doing?
And she knows you're under there.
Exactly.
So it's
and
you're
nobody gives a shit
her.
either. So a head pops up from under the canoe with Kenny. And he's like, oh, what are you doing here? Which is such a weak way to write a mystery. But
it happens so many times.
It does. Yeah. I'm sorry.
In this movie.
If I see one of you, I'm going to be like, oh, hey, Nay.
Yeah.
Hey, JP.
Yeah.
What's up?
Oh,
I'm not gonna be like,
it's you.
It's you. What are you doing here? Just keep using you so
Yeah,
I don't let the audience
nobody
know.
knows.
So the boys are annoyed on the shore that Kenny is taking so long to get back and they leave without him. But Kenny is straight up getting drowned.
Yeah.
At this point.
And the boat is right there.
The boat is very close.
Like, it's right next to them on the shore.
It seemed like they canoed very far out, and then you get the shot, and the canoe's right there.
All of a sudden, it's right there.
Why don't you go check?
Well, and he does at the end of the scene. All the other friends are like, he's just fucking around, and they leave. And then, I guess Mike, his buddy, goes over to the boat, and it looks like he's about to turn it over, and then the scene just ends.
He's like, never mind. I'll let him sleep here tonight. He's upset that Leslie wasn't into it. He'll sleep it off. We'll reconvene in the morning. So the next morning, the canoe washes up on shore completely, and one of the counselors finds Kenny's body underneath it. Now, Kenny's very bloody for some reason.
Yeah.
And there's one of those snakes that he warned Leslie about crawling out of his mouth.
Which I liked.
I'll
this
admit,
part.
that was a pretty good.
It
was
cool.
all right. That I did too. I was like, all right.
That was pretty cool.
So I'm like, Leslie killed him. No.
Yeah.
It was just very odd to me that he was so bloody because he was drowned. It's not like...
And he didn't even put up a fight.
No,
there was
not
no
at
fight.
all.
And they were all right there if there was splashing or any kind of...
Yeah. Or if he would have just lifted his head up and he's like, help!
Yeah.
I bet they would have heard it.
Somebody would have heard
They
it.
would have
No,
heard
the
that.
boat was right there.
Literally right there. So a police officer says to Mel and Ronnie that Kenny must have drowned, but says they'll have to wait for a medical examiner to be sure. Mel's already trying to downplay what happened. Again.
No, he's in total,
immediately just
denial.
cover up.
Yeah.
Cover.
And so the police officer's like, I think he drowned, but again, I'm not the expert. It's like, yeah, we get it, guy. We gotta wait.
Yeah.
You don't know
heard
anything.
you.
We understand. So Mel doesn't want any liability and says it was an accident. And then Ronnie's about to ask a question. He's like, I said it was an accident. And it's like, yeah, that's not weird at all. It's not suspicious.
And Ronnie's like, I remember him being a pretty strong swimmer.
Yeah.
And the cop's like, well, I hope you're wrong. And then he leaves.
Well, yeah, because
no investigation.
Yeah.
Like, eh.
No.
if he's wrong, it's a murder. That's what he's like, because I don't want to fucking come back and have
do
to
you know how much
anything.
fucking paperwork is associated with murder?
An accident. We just write accident.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah. So in the next scene, Angela's watching the girls play volleyball. She's not doing anything at all. But Paul sits down next to her and he talks with her. And they have an actual conversation. She's actually answering everything he's saying.
She's acting totally normal.
Just like a normal kid. And you're like, okay, cool. So maybe all she needed was Paul.
She's coming out of her shell.
You know, she's just a shy kid. And so he asks her if she wants to sit with him because they're going to have a movie night at the camp.
Right.
And so he's like, hey, you want to sit with me tonight at the movie night? And she's like, oh, yeah, you know, sure. And Judy is watching, and she looks so annoyed by this.
Yeah, I don't even know why she cares about that dude talking to her. Like it clearly bothered her earlier, and then now it's bothering her again. But why? Like
She
you
has
said,
no
she
reason.
didn't. Yeah, she didn't care about the dude.
No.
It wasn't like they were going steady or they were.
She has decided that she just doesn't like Angela.
So now Angela can't be happy at all.
She does not. Yeah, she is not going to have a good experience at this camp as long as Judy has something to say about
I
it.
guess.
So Judy is looking on. Meg is annoyed because I guess she's like, hey, if Angela's not going to participate, she can't be sitting here talking to boys.
Yeah, you don't get to chill and talk to dudes.
So Meg makes Paul go away and go back with the boys. Meg goes off on Angela, but Susie defends her.
Yeah. Susie's nice, too.
Yeah, Susie's one of the nice ones,
Yeah.
one of the nice counselors. And so we go to movie night, which is ending as soon as the scene begins. I thought it was interesting. I thought it would be...
I thought that was very weird.
Yeah.
Show them in there.
Show them in
I thought that
there.
was
Maybe
weird.
show them, like, being cute. You know, maybe holding hands or something like
But
that.
they
during
are
the
holding
movie.
hands when they come out.
They are.
Yeah, but
I feel like movie night, it's a wasted opportunity.
yeah, because instead of the baseball, they could have.
I was going to say, we don't have time. We spent 20 minutes at the
Well,
baseball
no,
field.
yeah.
Yeah, they showed all 9 innings. So they are leaving and they're holding hands. And he's like, hey, can I walk you back to your cabin? And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. And then Ricky sees Judy and he tries the same thing, but the Rickster strikes out again. It does not work out. She's not into it at all. So Paul takes Angela to her cabin and he takes her to the side of it. And what do you say? Let me try something.
Yes.
And he like kisses her on the lips. And then, okay, this made me laugh. He kisses her on the lips and he's like, can I have another one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like you just had one.
fuck?
Yeah, just do it
Had
again.
one.
Try it again. And so they kiss, I think, like twice. And he walks her back to the front door of her cabin. And they say goodnight to each other. Just as he turns around, Judy accosts Paul immediately. And again, why do you care so much?
And she cares a lot.
She cares a lot. And so the next scene we see, Paul walks into the boys' barracks and another prank is in progress.
Prank.
Yep.
And Ricky has sprayed shaving cream into Mozart's hand and he's sleeping. It's the old school, you know,
Yeah.
weakest prank of all time. Maybe this was fresh in 1983.
But it ain't
but
now.
watching it now, I'm like, ugh. So they get him to slap himself with the shaving cream, and then Mozart kips up out of bed and grabs a knife.
Yes.
He grabs a
He's sick of
literal
this
knife.
shit.
And
How
he's,
comfortable is this kid that he's asleep with a nudie mag on him?
was he?
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that.
it was
see
like
that
a Playboy
either.
or something.
Really?
There was naked girls on the pictures.
I didn't even
of
catch
it.
that.
And
Pretty
I'm like, this
comfortable.
dude,
Yeah.
he's just asleep with it out, not worried about the camp counselors or about anyone
No.
coming in.
It
Like,
seems like it's a pretty loose camp.
That's fair. Maybe that's why he's asleep. He's like, and I'm done. And good night.
Good night.
So it's about to be Ricky's last movement because Mozart is ready to fucking stab him over some shaving
He's
cream.
had it.
And so Gene barges in, breaks things up, takes Mozart's knife away from him, which he's very cool about the knife.
Super chill.
He's
You'll
like,
get this
"You'll
back
get
when
it
the
back."
camp's
Yeah.
over.
Instead of, were you going to murder Ricky? Which is what he should be
Because I'll
asking.
get this cop back out here.
Yeah.
He just left.
So he tells them to go to bed, and he calls Paul Loverboy. He's like, you too, Loverboy. And then all the boys pounce on him. It was like some boyish teasing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know what are they tickling him? Are they just fucking on him? Like, what is... It
I
was
don't know.
pointless. It
Yeah,
literally made
yeah.
no sense. So the next morning, Paul sneaks up behind Angela and he sits down next to her. When he sneaks up on her, he puts his hand over her eyes, and he's like, guess who? And she's like, Ricky? He's like, no. She's like, Burt Reynolds?
Yeah, what the fuck?
And he's like, no.
Sorry.
Yeah, think more logically, kid. It's Paul. Clearly. And then what did she say? Like, who are you?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No,
So now
they're joking. They're
joking.
being really cute.
Yeah, it's like, this is young. You're watching young love bloom at summer camp. And it seems like very sweet as compared to everything else that's going on.
But
Judy walks up immediately after Paul sits down. It's like she's been waiting. Does she have a fucking chip in Paul's head that she just like GPS? Oh, he's near Angela. So
I'm still confused because we've seen her before already talking to older boys.
Yeah.
And then you're getting mad because the kid that's the same age is talking to another girl that's the same age.
that's why I'm saying I don't think it's about Paul. I think it's about Angela.
See, that's what I was so confused about. Like you said, she's talking to
do
these older
anything.
boys.
Yeah.
And Paul looks like a young kid.
Right.
Like he doesn't look like he's
they all look like they're supposed to be the same age.
Yeah, he's no roided up Ronnie.
No.
Like, he's just a dude. He's just a kid. And so it's like she has nothing better to do, but she snitches to Meg that Angela's talking to a boy again. And then Meg just starts fucking walking up, and Paul's like, "Oh shit, I better get out of here." Yeah, he amscrays, like he leaves a trail of smoke behind him. He leaves so fast. So Meg scolds Angela again for not participating in their little reindeer games, and Angela, she asks if she wants to swim with them. Angela isn't speaking to anybody except for Paul.
Yeah,
and so she doesn't answer her question. I mean, and Angela has a history with water. Right. If you recall from the beginning, her family was killed in the water, so of course she doesn't want to go in the water.
Yeah.
And so Meg is like demanding an answer, and then she's just sitting there in silence, and Meg starts to shake her like a Polaroid picture.
What the fuck?
And like just screaming in her face, she's like, "God damn it, that's,
Yeah.
I do want to admit, though, I had no idea until towards the end of this movie that Meg was a fucking counselor. But with the way she's acting, you would think she's just like one of the other girls.
She doesn't.
So the whole time, I was like, damn, this lady's a bitch. I was like, is nobody going to step in and do anything?
Where's the adults
she is
here?
the one to step in and do something.
And that's probably why she's getting away with it until this point. Because Ronnie finally steps in and he breaks it up. He's like, he's got a soft spot for Angela. He's trying to be nice to the girl that everybody's bullying.
Yeah.
And so he checks on Angela. He tells Meg basically she's in trouble. He's like, you come to my office later. And he's going to like let her have it. We never see this.
Nope.
Yeah, we don't get any of that.
So it might just be for show. So back in the cabin, Judy's pissed at Angela for getting Meg in trouble, and she starts to bully her, saying, how come you never shower with us? How come you never swim with us? She's like poking at her for like no reason. And honestly, they don't have to shower together.
No.
Angela could just be showering in the morning. Like,
well, no, she's saying, why do you shower when nobody else is in there? What, you haven't gone through puberty yet?
But it's like, why would I... Look, if I have the choice of showering
alone,
with a bunch of other people or showering alone, I'm going to be like, all right, when are you guys not there? That's where I'm going.
But even that, what would that matter if you went through puberty?
You're
at a
matter.
fucking summer camp with other kids.
It literally doesn't matter. But she's going off on her about that. And yeah, she targets her for that for some reason.
Yeah.
I guess 80s priorities, man.
I guess.
I don't know. So Susie steps in. She's the nice counselor. She's like Meg's counterpart. Susie's had enough of Judy's bullshit, and she slaps her in the face.
Yes, she does.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Susie.
I feel like she acted on behalf of everyone watching the movie when she did that.
Because we're sick of Judy's bullshit, man. And so she, like, gasps after she slaps her and then, like, puts her hand over her mouth because I guess Susie isn't one to do something like that, but she got pushed too far watching Angela get bullied. So Angela leaves, and she's like, I'm going to go see Ricky, but I'll be back for dinner. So as she's walking to see Ricky, Angela gets hit with the water balloon by the older boys. They're standing on a rooftop.
Right.
And they're just throwing water balloons, and they hit her. And Ricky loses it. And he's cursing. Like, he's been doing a lot of cursing in this movie.
Yeah.
But he even amps it up for this.
Using every word like he can think of. And it sounds like a kid that just discovered curse words. Because it's really ridiculous. And Mel comes up. He tells the boys they're in trouble. And then he also tells Ricky that he's in trouble. He's
his
like,
potty mouth.
on account of your filthy mouth, Which
he went
Ricky
far.
earned it.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, that's your family member. You're really not going to get pissed off about it. I mean, I understand why, they're at a kid's camp. You shouldn't be talking that way. But he's like, I seen the whole thing. Then if you've seen the whole thing, what the
then
fuck?
Why,
why?
I do also want to note how Mel grossly exaggerates the dangerousness of water pollution.
Yeah, could have took her eye out.
You could have took her eye out. And then he's like, go get changed. You're going to catch pneumonia.
What does he think is in those?
It's a hot summer
He's
day.
like, there's nails in them.
know.
There's dry ice. Like, what? What are you talking about, Mel? So it's baseball time again. Luckily, we don't have to sit through it.
Thank God.
But one of the older kids stays behind to take, as he calls it, a wicked dump. So all the other boys leave except for this one kid. He goes to the bathroom. He grabs a magazine to flip through, and he's looking for an article to read before he gets to the restroom.
Right.
He's like, that'll be interesting for the next 5 minutes or whatever. So he sits down on the toilet. We get a shot of just his shorts hitting the ground, which just seemed unnecessary. We know what you're doing in there. We don't need to see that. The killer comes in. We still don't know there's no identifying anything. We don't know who this is, but they slide a mop handle into the handle of the bathroom door. And then I guess they go right back outside. It's a very thorough murder. They cut open
a window that's behind
that is
the toilet.
Yes.
Yes. Which why
there's no privacy here.
No,
I don't, and it's wide. There was nothing in front of it.
Yeah,
Literally
no, it's just
nothing.
wide open.
Just
so
a
if you're in
screen.
there using the bathroom or whatever, somebody can just come up. Hey, what are you doing in there?
Yeah.
You can see what I'm doing.
It's like,
Yes.
look, at Camp Arawak, we're known for two things.
Yeah.
Our 6 foot tall pots
Yeah.
and our scenic bathrooms. That's it, all right? You signed the permission slip.
knew
You
what
knew where you were
here.
coming.
Yeah.
So the killer slashes through the window, and on a stick has...
That's some cartoon shit.
It
right
is.
there.
This is some Wile E. Coyote bullshit.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Has a literal beehive on the end of the stick and is waving it around, I guess, to agitate the bees.
Get 'em
like,
good
this is
and
your
pissed
target.
off.
Yeah. The killer drops the beehive and the kid goes nuts. He tries to get out, but again, the killer blocked the door.
But there's the crawl space underneath.
Yeah, I don't.
There is.
Yeah, because you see him drop his shorts.
That's how we got that great shot of his legs.
And then he's
Which
just
was
like,
necessary.
hey, what is this? Come on.
Ah, get me out of here.
And so instead of using the crawl space, he hits the door hard enough to break through,
Right.
but the bees have already stung him to death.
They've done their damage.
Now,
They did a little more than that. I don't
Yeah.
know what the fuck.
it looked like a scene from Candyman.
it really did.
Yeah,
Literal
you
killer
can't tell me
bees.
there was that many fucking bees in that little hive.
That hive was pretty tiny.
Yeah,
I don't know
come
how.
on.
Maybe their bee apartments have very small square footage inside that thing. But there were so many bees, and also I didn't know that you could get stung to death that quickly.
No, yeah.
He must have
that
been
was-
deathly allergic. You know what happened?
Something.
The killer read his physical,
Oh,
read the medical
shit.
file. Bees,
I know exactly
huh?
how
Yeah.
I'm gonna get him.
It's a deleted scene. So I will say, I know his corpse was like a dummy or something. The welts looked pretty good.
No,
They didn't look too bad.
Oh, yeah. But
I feel like we don't get a lot. We get a surprisingly for a 1980s slasher, a surprisingly little amount of gore.
Yeah.
But what we do see is done
It's
pretty
pretty
well.
good. It's
yeah.
not bad.
Yeah, no.
So I guess they discovered the kid's body, and Mel is basically like, I'm never going to financially recover
Yeah,
from
no, shit, just straight Tiger King.
this. He pulls, a Joe
Pulls a Joe
Exotic.
Exotic.
God
And-
damn.
And I guess there's only 25 kids left at this camp, they determine. Which, by the way, which parents, after all these deaths, are still allowing their kids to stay at this
Well,
camp?
Mel is passing out $50 raises to everybody to keep
To
their
shut
fucking
their
mouth shut.
Yeah.
But then how are the other parents finding out to get their kids out of it?
I don't
That's
know.
a really good
You
question.
know? So it's like some parents know and they get their kids. The other parents are like, I always hated my kid. Like, I don't know.
Maybe they'll die next.
Yeah. So Mel thinks that there's a killer on the loose, but Ronnie tells him to knock off that kind of thinking. He doesn't, he's not into it. In the next scene, we see Paul taking Angela to the lake. It's at night, and they start to kiss, And the music is oddly whimsical and romantic.
It is.
The music doesn't really fit a lot in this movie, like we said.
And Paul starts feeling her up. And she's like, no, don't. And he goes, I'm not even doing anything. And then he starts doing it again.
No, you're feeling her up. That's a thing.
And you're continuing to.
Exactly. And so as this is happening, Angela freezes up and she imagines herself and her brother as children in the past. And they're discovering her father in bed with another man. It's the man who was on the shore at the beginning telling them that it was time to leave.
Yeah, yes. At that point, I'm completely lost.
I'm confused.
Okay, continue.
It shows them in bed with each other, and the two are in the door frame just giggling and laughing about it. Then it switches to a shot of her and her brother sitting crisscross across from each other on a bed, and the brother is literally just pointing at her. And the camera is going around them.
And everything in the background from her father in the bed and them in their bed is completely black. We have no background of anything.
No, we don't know where these scenes are taking place.
I had no idea.
I have a lot of questions about this flashback.
So I'm confused.
I have a lot of questions.
Is it her connecting in her mind? See, I'm so confused because it's she's like, okay, I am with a boy being felt up. That reminds me of when I saw my father with a man.
But even so, when her and her brother are looking in on their dad, it's not like some sordid like porn scene. Like they're laying in bed looking lovingly at each other and like they're adoring each other.
But even that at the beginning, you didn't pick that up from them.
No, I thought it was just a buddy.
I really wish we had gotten any kind of elaboration here, because even in the scene with her and her brother in the bed, is there some insinuation that her brother did something to her? Because they're both fully clothed. They both see this going on in their dad's room, and then they're both fully clothed in the bed. He's pointing at her. But something about this recollection is so disturbing to her that she gets up and books it. Yeah, she's like, I can't do this.
She screams no, and then leaves Paul on the beach.
I don't understand.
And
I am the queen of, oh my God, that imagery means
and the theory
ABC.
As well, yeah.
I can, deduce this from that. I will go overboard trying to make up backstories or interpret shit, but I don't know.
Yeah, I myself too. I was just like, I don't understand.
What would have made sense to me is if her father noticed them in the doorway. And he was like, "Come here, you little shit!" And he beat the hell out of him or something.
Yeah,
that would make sense. Because now it's a bad association with that kind of contact.
But
just seeing them,
we don't get anything out of it.
I don't get it. I don't understand.
No sense. But it's enough, like you said, it's enough for her to.
She's
bolt.
like, I can't do this.
She's done. And Paul's like, "What the?" He's upset. He's a teenage boy. So the next morning, camp counselors are setting up a game of capture the flag. They tell all the rules to capture the flag. I guess nobody in the camp has ever played it before. It's a very simple game. You try to, looks at notes, capture the flag. Anyway, Angela apologizes to Paul for the night before, and he tries to cozy up to her, but she rebukes him again.
Yeah, she's not having it.
And he walks away. Judy sees this, and she's, again, she has a chip in this kid.
Yeah.
So she walks up to Paul, and they start talking, and she's like hitting on him, not subtly, but enough to where you know what's going on. So Angela walks away. Ricky catches up with her, and he lets her in on this top secret plan to get the flag if they sneak through some trees and some shrubbery.
Right.
So he's like, he's like drawing out a play like on a whiteboard. He's like, you're here, I'm here, you're the X. If you move in a zigzag fashion, no. So he's like got this plan together. So he's like, we'll cut through the woods and we'll get the flag. So as they're sneaking through the woods, Ricky and Angela catch Judy and Paul kissing. Rick takes it well.
Yeah.
Even though that's his ex-girlfriend and his best friend kissing.
He doesn't really seem to care at all, except for Paul disrespecting Angela.
Yeah, Angela does not take it well, and she runs away.
Yeah.
But Ricky is just like...
He's just like, Judy, you're a real piece of shit.
Yeah. She's a
just
hoe
upset.
for show.
So Paul again tries to apologize to Angela, but she starts giving him her patented silent treatment.
Yeah.
When she would open up to him and no one else, that time's done.
Not no mo.
Yeah.
So Judy walks up to them again, gives them a hard time, and is like, well, what was she that you said, Paul? A prude? And he's like, bitch, that was a secret.
I'm waiting on Paul to be like, no, I didn't. He's like, God damn it.
And he just walks away. He doesn't say no or anything.
He promised me.
He just lets her get away with it. There's no anything. So he bails out completely. The next scene, Mel is clearly thinking that Ricky is the killer.
Oh, yeah. He's like, that little shit. I saw the hate in his eyes. Like, he's going off.
Yeah,
he's going off.
Dude.
Yeah. And so after Paul leaves and Judy and Angela are still sitting there, Meg walks up.
Yep.
And they start giving Angela a hard time. At this point, it's concurrently happening. Meg and Judy are grabbing Angela and they're about to throw her into the lake while Mel is like holding Ricky and like
he's
basically
like, you did it to destroy me.
Exactly. Yeah. He feels like it's a personal vendetta. He's like, dude, I don't even know your name, which it took me, I had to look up Mel's name because I don't know that it's said.
Yeah, I
don't know.
I had to look it up so I could call him something for this
In my mind, he was
episode.
Old Man Jagger the whole time I was watching it.
So Ricky sees that this is going on and he tries to get away, but Mel grabs him by the arm and he continues yelling at him.
Well, he's like, that's what you always do. They mess with her, you come running. Like, he's like,
why is that bad?
I don't know.
Yeah, and nobody's helping either
No,
him
they're all
or
watching.
Angela.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, they're just like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah. It's like everybody has it out for them.
Yeah.
For no reason. And so Angela gets dumped into the water. Ricky and Mel's little thing gets broken up by Ronnie. Ricky runs to Angela's rescue, and Ricky swears revenge. There's a lot of swearing of revenge in this movie, so
there
you can there's a lot of red herrings, so you don't know exactly what's going on, who's doing what.
Yes.
Now, one thing that did make me laugh is Ronnie sees Mel shaking Ricky. And when he goes to break it up, he's like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing, Mel? And Mel goes, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Snaps out of it.
You're shaking a child. Like, obviously, that's what you're doing. This is don't send your kids to Camp Arawak.
Your children.
So, the next scene, the counselors are being given their responsibilities for the night, and Meg is given the night off. So, as she's given the night off, she decides to set up a dinner date with Mel, who is old enough to be her great-grandfather, I would say. And they both oddly seem... Well, Mel obviously seems excited about it, but Meg seems excited about it.
It's still like, it's like all of these girls just want to fuck old guys. It's like, what is happening
The
here?
80s were a strange...
No, but he's like old.
He's really
he's old.
Yeah. So she goes into the girls' barracks to go take a shower to get ready for her date, but there's a massive line, and so she's like, all right, I'll just go next door. She tells Judy, who is sitting on the bed, that she's going to go next door, and then she goes. She gets into the shower, and she's exclusively scrubbing her neck. Her neck is going to be very clean for the date.
And humming to herself.
And humming a song that does not exist.
Raw bar soap. No washcloth.
Yeah. So, out of nowhere... The killer comes in and he stabs her in the back with, I'm assuming, Mozart's hunting knife.
Yes, I noticed that too. It looks exactly like that kid's
call.
knife.
I didn't even put that together.
So I don't know if that's an attempt to also kind of have another.
I didn't
maybe
even put
it's
that together.
Mozart.
Yeah.
You know, because you have not seen the killer.
Or
All
Ronnie, because Ronnie took the knife. Gene took the knife. Excuse me.
So which one is the OG Mario Lopez?
That's Gene.
That's Gene.
The one that looks like he's like 35 at a kid's summer camp.
Right, with the Mexican Italian or whatever the fuck
situation
he is.
going on.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the killer stabs Meg through the back.
Right.
He like goes right down her spine.
This is the bloodiest death.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you see blood coming through the shower curtain.
Yeah.
And I will say, in defense of the killer, he does clean off the knife.
Yep.
In the shower.
He does turn off the shower. The killer, he's
like, we can't waste water.
Yeah, reduce, reuse,
maybe
recycle.
Maybe he's not trying to ruin Mel.
Maybe he's
not
not too bad.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you look at all the people he's killed so far,
this was the cleanest.
It's just been assholes.
Yeah, kind of had it coming.
I don't feel too bad just yet. So Paul catches up with Angela again, and he tries to apologize. He's putting the Paul in apologize, because this is like all he's doing for the last like 45 minutes of the movie.
I'm so
sorry. So, Judy breaks them up again.
Well, and when he's apologizing, he's even like, look, I only said that. Like,
yeah, he's
even
like, I didn't
admits
mean
to it.
Yeah, he's like ripping his shirt. Stella! So after Judy leaves, Angela tells Paul to meet her at the waterfront later. And Paul's like, all right. So he's like, maybe all these apologies,
I'm getting somewhere.
Exactly. So one of the counselors, I had to look it up because you do not get his name. He's named Eddie.
Yeah.
He's camping with some of the younger kids in the woods. I guess that was his responsibility that he was given in the scene.
And he didn't want to.
Earlier. No, he was not into it. So two of the kids are like, we don't really want to do this. We're afraid or whatever.
It's cold.
They're not into it. So Eddie's like, all right, I'm going to take these two kids back and leave the other kids to sleep.
Yes,
Just leave them out in the middle of the
to leave these children by
yeah.
themselves to go take these two kids back.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a tough spot because he's like, do I send these two kids back on their own?
No, we're camping. I'm sorry. Lay back down. Do you want my jacket here?
They can cry and fall asleep.
Or, see if these other kids want to go back. You can't leave these kids in the woods by themselves.
But then there's no fucking tents. They're just
sleeping on the ground.
Yeah. I know they had tents in the 80s.
I'd be like, that's enough.
Yeah,
let's all just go back.
Yeah, so he leaves with the two kids who don't want to be there. And as he's leaving, you get a POV shot from the killer.
Again.
The killer walks up, he eyes an axe, and then the scene kind of cuts there. So it appears you think the killer's going to pull an Anakin Skywalker and slaughter some younglings, right? But we'll get back to that in a minute.
Yes.
Mel goes around because he's all hopped up, ready for his date with Meg. He bumps into Judy, who has not seen her since she left for her shower.
Yeah.
Judy was making out with Mike, I think.
Is that another counselor?
Yeah.
No, I thought he was
Jesus
just an older
Christ.
boy.
Or was he?
I think so.
Well, Judy was making out with...
I think he was the boy that was friends with Kenny who got drowned.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So they were making out, and whenever Mel walks in, Mike hides under the bed. And so Mel's like, have you seen Meg? And she's like, oh, yeah. She said she was going to go take a shower. So he leaves, and then Mike's like, well, I'm going to get out of here after,
So she's pissed.
So she's mad that she's being left alone.
Yeah, that's...
She's
just always mad.
Christ.
Well, when they were making out, she's like, why are your kisses so wet?
Yeah, no wonder he left. He's like,
are
I'm
you
not
happy
fucking
with
this.
anything?
Yeah,
Like,
this is
Jesus
not happening.
Christ. So, and he's like, it was sad because she's like, why are your kisses so wet? And he's like, I'm sorry. He was really upset. So he leaves and she's left all alone. Mel goes next door, and please explain to me. As soon as he walks in, Meg's dead body decides to fall
out of the
through the shower curtain.
I can't explain it.
I shook my head, and
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
It makes
That
no
was-
sense.
So you were standing dead, waiting. Oh shit! Here he's coming.
And I'm out.
Just just throw yourself on the floor.
It makes no sense. So,
but it's...
yeah, Mel sees the body, and he assumes that Ricky's responsible.
But when he sees it, he just goes, not you, Meg!
Well,
Damn it!
it's like
Yeah,
he's
that's
expecting to find bodies at this point.
Not you!
And then he goes, he did this to get back at me.
Yeah,
I had him, and I let him go.
Yeah, he's
Like,
fucking.
why are you monologuing
he's positive
to
that
yourself?
he's this small child.
Yes,
that dude.
he is so
He
certain.
even before he goes, he gives a little look like, "Should I touch her?"
It's like
He does.
No, he does. It's
He
like
stopped-
is everybody here a creep?
That's what I'm
All
saying.
of
He
them.
does. He stops and he's like,
And then he thinks better of it, thankfully.
yeah, and then he's like,
Because I don't want to have to
better
watch
not."
that
yeah,
scene.
It's like, come on.
So in the cabin next, Judy is curling her hair, and she hears some noises. You look into the door frame, and you see what appears to be Ricky in a wig.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It looks like Ricky in a wig standing in the door frame, but you can't really tell.
It does. Well, it looks like it could be Ricky or Angela. That
Yes.
to me, that's what I.
Right.
It's very ambiguous, but it looks like it could be either one.
And so the person comes in, gets closer, and Judy goes, "Oh, it's you."
again. Just
Yeah, what do
Not-
you want?
hey, Bob, what are you doing?
No.
Never
It's
saying
just-
who
oh,
it is.
you.
Yeah,
Right.
just trying to keep this mystery alive. When she says, "What do you want?" she gets knocked out.
She gets punched
The
in the
killer
face.
by
punches
the
her in the
weakest
face.
slap.
It wasn't
that
good.
was like,
It wasn't good. So it's the killer, obviously. I don't think we have to say that.
No.
He puts a pillow over her head and starts to smother her. And then from the shadows, because you only see it from the shadows, you see him grab the curling iron, open the curling iron.
Yes.
And then slowly move it towards her as she screams. Now.
And her hands go up.
Her hands go up. It shoots up like the cover of The Evil Dead.
Yes.
Right? And it's enough to kill her.
Yeah.
I guess.
Just
Straighten her to the coochie.
Oh my
just done.
God.
I was
See,
like, what?
I think that's what we're supposed to insinuate.
Right? I mean,
but you don't.
They don't show
enough to even
but-
explain it.
No.
Now, it's funny to me that you said that because as that was happening, I looked it up because I was like, I don't know what's going on. And they said that that's what happened. And I'm like, how am I going to say that on the podcast? And then
Leave it to John
JP
Paul.
just goes for it.
Well, I
goes
mean,
for it. But I mean, that's what
we're
happened.
supposed to think, right?
I think that's what we're supposed to
so-
insinuate.
But
we're not really. I mean, I guess we're given enough because that's what I thought.
now here's a funny little tidbit. Jane Krakowski from 30 Rock auditioned for the role of Judy
I love her.
and would have had it, but she read the details of Judy's death scene and said, I don't want to do this.
I did
I'm
read
out.
that. I did
Yeah.
read that. Yeah.
So
I read that they cut out an image of her dead body to keep the rating that they had.
Oh,
To get
They
that
were
R?
told
okay.
to take that out. Yeah.
honestly, it's
So
for the
I
best.
wonder if that was a more
They would have had more detail.
right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that. Maybe I'm crazy, but if you can hear a scream, you're not being smothered.
Nope.
No,
Because you
yeah,
can
I
still
didn't
breathe.
even. I
Because
didn't
it
even
wasn't.
think
It
about
wasn't
that.
muffled
yeah.
at all.
No.
Either.
So
Yeah.
what killed her?
I
don't know.
I don't know. Long story short, the killer dumps her body kind of under the bed, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And takes off. So Eddie, the camp counselor with all the children that were camping, he goes back to the campsite to check on the remaining children, but someone, as we feared would happen,
Yes.
has slaughtered all 4 children with an axe.
Yeah.
And he throws up immediately.
Yeah. Which is fair.
Which, I mean, yeah. So here's my issue with this. 4 people, it doesn't matter that they're children, okay? 4 people. If one is being hacked to death with an axe,
you don't think any of them are
nobody's
going to
gonna
wake up or run?
Right.
Or,
Nobody's going to try
right.
to run away. They're all dead in their sleeping bags.
No, yeah, you would hear something, or
Yeah.
you
Right?
would, yeah.
So, again, this is like the 4th death in a row that doesn't make any sense.
And I do want to point out, and I told your sister earlier, because I was like, why, because the killer isn't really messing with anybody else that hasn't done anything.
Right.
Like, just like a shitty character or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's...
But, like I told her, if you notice, when Angela and Ricky are leaving from when she gets thrown into the water, there's
You're
little
right.
kids throwing sand at them.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think that those kids belong to that counselor, and he took them camping. That's why they got killed.
That honestly makes a lot of
But
sense.
okay, so what's the timeline here? The killer kills Meg, runs
Right.
out into the forest, hacks up the children, goes back to the camp and kills
But
Judy.
if they're just camping out, they're in the woods already. Maybe they weren't that far from the camp.
It's still, why would they go back? Like
I know, but
it
it's
doesn't. I don't know.
The killer is very busy enough to make, at this point, I
Fast.
believe that there's 2 killers.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's got to be, because how, like you said, how are they
too
killing
much.
at the campsite? How are they killing Meg? How are they killing Judy? All at the same time, basically, because
The
it's
killer
the
is
same
Sonic.
night.
Same
The
time.
killer is Sonic. You cracked
It's all,
it.
it's all
Yeah.
happening while the dance or the social
Yeah,
is
there's a
happening.
box social,
Yes.
which is going on. So Ricky is heading to that box social to get something to eat. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me, okay? Because he says, I did not come to the box social because my stomach was upset from dinner.
right.
Can I get something to eat?
But
And
I
the
like
counselor's like, all right. So he goes
No,
inside.
the counselor goes, yeah, dinner was shitty.
True. He's like,
I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that
didn't
either.
catch that.
That's
He goes-
very funny.
He goes, yeah, dinner was shitty. All right.
Like, your story checks out, kid.
Yeah.
And it sucks because this Ben has taken over the kitchen, so they're like,
Yeah.
we need burned Artie
Yeah,
back. He was a creep, but he could make a mean stew. So he goes inside. He grabs nothing but candy bars exclusively.
Where did he get the candies from? Were they leftover candies?
From the party,
I don't know.
I guess.
Leftover? He's just, fuck it. They didn't eat this half.
Yeah.
I'll eat it.
I thought your stomach was upset. That's what the counselor should have said. You can't eat this fucking candy. Come on. So I hope these candy bars were a good last meal because Mel grabs Ricky by the throat from the back.
My God.
From the back, he grabs him by the throat and he takes him like kind of in the woods.
Yeah, a little off to the side.
He slaps the shit out of him.
He slaps him and then in the most ridiculous beatdown,
monkey
it's like
style.
Planet of the Apes. He's just raining blows on him. And it's effective, I will say that. It's the old ground and pound. He gets him, and so he beats the shit out of him. And because he thinks that Ricky's the one going around and killing all these people.
Right.
So he gets up, satisfied at the job that he's done. He walks out towards, I guess, the archery range, which is right next door. And he's like, oh, it's you.
Again. Just no name. Just, hey, that person.
Yeah, the real killer shoots him in the throat with an arrow. And I will say,
it looks really good.
It looks really good.
It looks really good.
It looks really good. You don't see any blood.
No.
But the arrow going in, I will say, if you couldn't see the arrow coming out of the back, it wouldn't have looked as good. But the fact that you do see that arrow pointing out, you're like,
I think it looks
that's
pretty
not bad.
good.
It does, but there's no like entrance wound. It's just
it just
oh,
appears in his throat. Yeah. And it made me think of Friday the 13th, and Kevin Bacon's character gets killed with an arrow through the throat.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Just saying, this guy was watching that film.
I'm taking some notes.
Exactly. So at some point, I guess they've called the police. And for some reason, the police officer is now wearing a fake mustache.
Yes!
Is that what you said? We're right. Okay. We looked at each other and was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Because
I did read though that what happened was he shaved his mustache during the filming of the movie, and thought it would grow back in time, and it didn't.
Just
and it didn't
I wouldn't
grow
even
back.
notice.
So they told him to use a fake mustache.
Oh my God!
it was the fakest looking
No,
mustache.
it was super bad.
It's like
it was super bad.
2 pieces of duct tape on the side of his face.
You have a beard as well as I do,
right?
So you would be able to tell that's fake as fuck.
Exactly. I'd be like, hey,
no.
this looks like shit.
Yeah, no.
And I'm sorry, but it was literally a day ago. Why can't the police officer shave his face?
Yeah,
it happens.
No
People do it all the time. Have you ever seen somebody on Friday and then Monday they have a haircut? It happens.
It happens.
Yeah. I would have preferred that than just having whatever the fuck was on his face.
It was distracting.
No, because we were watching it together, not talking about it obviously, but we're both taking notes. And we both just start writing at the same time. And I'm like, why do I feel like we're writing the same thing right now?
No, I think the thing that confused me the most is I was like, I almost wanted to go back. I was like, has the mustache always been this fake?
It was so bad.
Because I didn't notice it until the scene. But I guess Paul meets up with Angela at the waterfront and asks him to go for a swim. He's like, what about our clothes?
Fuck.
And she's like, take them off. And Paul is the happiest person I have ever seen in my entire life.
Paul's like, good night.
Yeah, he's over the moon. And he starts to strip immediately.
Yeah,
right
away.
He was ready. He was ready.
I have to say this, all right? If you're in this situation and you start to take your clothes off and the other person isn't, wouldn't you be like, hey, what's...
Stop taking
why aren't
your
you...
clothes off.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep going, but he does. And so the police officer finds an empty candy bar wrapper, and it's a trail that leads him to Ricky. And so he finds Ricky all beat up. And
still alive, though.
Still alive. He's still alive and kicking. And he brings Ricky back to the camp. This is when they start discovering the bodies. Gene carries Ricky back, and he carries them back to the barracks where they find Meg.
Right,
and
that's
Judy.
right, that's right.
Now, Ronnie and Susie are walking, trying to find everybody else. And they somehow hear some humming. It's very faint, but they're like, someone's singing.
Yeah.
And it's enough to hear somehow from very, very far away. So they find Angela cradling Paul. Paul's in her lap, and his head's in her lap, and she's cradling him.
They're both naked.
They're both naked, and this triggers a cutscene. It's a flashback sequence, I guess. And
another one with pitch black background.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they had one room that they filmed all these flashbacks in on one day. And so it's Aunt Martha talking to a bandaged up child. And she's like basically saying, oh, we're going to take care of you after the accident and all this stuff. And she's like, I always wanted a daughter, but with Ricky, since she already has a son, you'll be our daughter. And then she's like, Angela was always a really good name. It means angel. She says something like, what do you think of the name Angela?
Isn't that right?
Peter.
Yeah.
And then
dun,
exactly. If we ever needed ridiculous mystery music, this was the time, because that's right, folks. Peter is the one who survived at the beginning. Angela died. Peter was raised as Angela. So, back to present day. Peter is cradling Paul. But stands up, and Paul's severed head rolls out of his lap. Peter is completely naked,
yes,
holding an axe,
yes,
snarling, growling. And, okay, so you get close-up shots of Angela's face, and it's clearly Felissa Rose, the actress that played Angela. And then you zoom out and it shows the full body, and it's a naked man wearing a very crude Angela mask.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
But to be fair...
She turned into a dinosaur or some shit. She's spitting some shit out of her mouth.
It's to be fair, the wider shot with the full body, the mask makes it look really creepy.
It does.
Because Peter Angela is making these sounds, but their mouth is wide open. So how are they making the sound?
It's looks, like a guttural...
To be fair, that part does
look creepy. Now...
I do...
Is this Ronnie's reaction?
Yes!
Ronnie has the most subdued reaction. My God.
I don't believe it.
She's a boy.
Yeah.
Okay, you just saw a severed
severed head drop to the ground.
But
let's focus in on the
You're more
penis.
concerned about this gender reveal.
Yes.
And this is the most damning thing about the film. The film just sort of ends.
It's over then.
It closes up on Angela's face, and then it turns green for some reason and freeze frames like a fucking sitcom as the credits start to roll.
That's what this was.
and that's it. That's the twist. That's the hook. That's why people are still talking about Sleepaway Camp.
Yes.
Is because they were surprised that they saw a penis at the end.
Yeah.
So, I almost hesitate to ask this. What did you guys think of Sleepaway Camp?
John Paul?
Oh, my God. I've watched a lot of movies, horror, action, drama, everything. I do really like horror movies. And this is no disrespect to any of the actors. The actors says this is, you know what I mean?
They did the best they could.
You guys did but...
And from what I read, it sounded like they had a lot of fun.
How is this a cult classic movie? This
it's a cult classic because nobody saw the ending coming because the ending was so shocking. And to be fair,
shocking to who?
But if I didn't know going into it, what the twist
didn't know.
I'm saying if I didn't, I don't think I ever would have guessed that Angela was Peter because it doesn't really fucking fit into the movie.
No,
it is a tacked on twist.
It doesn't. Again, like I said at the beginning, if it weren't for that, I think that Sleepaway Camp would have faded into obscurity.
True.
I will give them an extra point because I didn't see the twist coming. That doesn't make it a good twist.
No.
And I even read that they used Cousin Ricky was used in all the murder shots, his hands to try to throw it off.
Because
it
her
was
mother said that she was too young to be doing it.
Right.
Felissa Rose's mother, the actress.
Right, because she was 13 at the time, and the actor who played
17.
Ricky was 17.
So all of those shots are Ricky's hands. Those are his hands.
So I have a big problem with that because I don't mind misdirection.
No.
But that's a flat out lie.
No, yeah.
For the viewer.
Yeah.
Because we literally saw what looked like man's hands committing all of these murders. We've seen Angela's hands.
Yeah.
Angela is a girl.
A small girl. Yeah.
She was 13. She's a 13-year-old girl. So, and that's the other problem I have with it is all these red herrings.
And they're kind of clumsy.
They are.
Because it's like, okay, there's a trend here. And it's like we don't even wait for the payoff. Scene 1, somebody fucks with Angela. Scene 2, they're dead. Scene 3, somebody fucks with Angela. Scene 4, they're dead.
Oh my God.
There's no payoff. Like, there's no real... Like, I think I talked last week about a director respecting the viewer's intelligence. There was none of that.
No respect here.
I feel like, again, the scene where she's thinking back to her dad, she was the brother in that scene.
Yeah.
To be real.
So was she...
What are you saying? I don't understand what that was.
Was the brother pointing at Angela because he's like, I'm you?
Yeah, they're right. You're me.
You know?
I just don't... And
I don't know.
And this was... And I even told your sister, this was one thing that I was like... Okay, this is going to be good because I've never seen this movie.
Right.
I don't know. She even told me I've never seen it, but I know the ending.
Same. I was in the same boat.
You know, it's like I've never seen it. I've heard of it, and I know people talk about it. And like I said, no disrespect to the actors and actresses in this movie, but that was shit. Like that was like I did not enjoy that at all.
So I feel
none of it.
Go ahead.
I do. Here's where my question comes in. Okay, I, like everyone here, has seen a lot of bad horror movies.
Yeah.
Now, depending on when I saw them the first time,
that's exactly what I was about to say.
I will make a ridiculous amount of allowances. I will make exceptions.
Yeah.
And I will fix it in my head through the lens of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Give a very bad movie a great rating.
Well, because
Could that be
even when we had
how this became a cult
that's
classic?
what I think. Because when we were talking about Creepshow 2, and I'm like, I know this movie doesn't deserve what I'm giving it, but
here we are.
It is the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia.
And
I don't have that for this movie.
Because none of us saw this film until today, we don't have those rose-colored glasses for
But
it.
I can see how it would be something that somebody grew up watching, and it's so bad that it's good.
But you got to think of all the similarities between this and Jason.
Oh my God.
She's afraid of the water. Jason was afraid of the water.
Wrong.
This is on a camp. That was in a
You're
camp.
not wrong.
You got the death of the arrow. You got the mystery of who the killer is.
Not wrong.
And then
and the twist ending.
The killer is a person who is avenging her family's death at a camp.
Yep.
And I have to say...
And it's a surprise because it's not someone you would suspect.
Right.
Yep.
But I do have to say, I think that Angela clearly is dealing with some PTSD.
Right.
She's wrestling with a lot and is pushed. To me, that almost makes for a more interesting movie
if
than...
it was straight up Angela?
Surprise, bitch!
It's Peter.
I mean,
No.
It's, we didn't need
I
it.
see that.
No,
I know
I
that
agree.
that's what this movie is known for. We didn't need it.
You know what I would have done differently? I would have, if we have to stick with this ending where Angela is actually Peter, I would make it to where Angela never spoke a word. Because then at the end, when she lets out that like animalistic growl, that's what she sounds like.
That's why you haven't.
That's why you've never heard her before.
Yeah,
Damn it, that's
that would have
pretty
made
good.
more sense.
Because they're like, oh shit, that's what was in there.
That's
and
why
so, I
you
mean,
never
that
talk.
That final scene too, I feel like we could have gotten more than that. I will say that the full body shot of Angela, the sounds coming from Angela Peter, it is disturbing.
Oh, the sounds, yeah.
And I do want to at least give it a point for that. That is iconic. She still makes that face in photo ops. Like, it is.
Dude, I will say, Felissa Rose seems like a great human being.
She does.
She seems fantastic.
She does.
But this film...
I mean, I guess you're right. Maybe if we seen it a long time ago, then it would be like, oh shit.
I genuinely feel like it would be one of those movies that I'm like, oh man, but come on, like.
But we watch movies that are old
but
now.
We've watched them forever.
No. But even if we watch something we've never seen and it's a decent movie, it's like, okay, that wasn't too bad.
If it's a decent movie.
That's the problem.
Okay, well, this wasn't. I didn't think this was a decent movie. Like, it was just.
That's what I'm saying. But when you grow up watching something, I feel like there's a little more wiggle room there for what's good or what's bad.
No, that's definitely true. And then as you look back, you remember things differently.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
one thing I will give this is this movie would be very fun to watch at a party on a Friday night.
That I will say, definitely.
With a group of people
who haven't seen it, or like half of them have, half of them
you're
haven't.
going to pick it apart.
Of course,
yeah.
But it's going to be fun.
I just feel like they did...
Right.
I feel like this movie kind of tried to straddle two different things. A, it's a slasher movie. These people kind of get what they have coming. It's a vengeance type thing. But on the other side, I almost feel like they were really lazily trying to make a point about sexuality that never fully developed or formed.
Yes, the scene with the father.
Yes.
And his lover.
Yes.
It pops up, makes no sense, and is never touched on again.
I feel like if that was fleshed out more, maybe this movie could have been a little bit better or made something of a statement, because I feel like they're trying to do two different things and kind of just leaned more to, okay, well, we'll just focus on the killing.
And what of Aunt Martha?
Know.
She's a doctor. I don't know what kind of doctor she is.
I don't know.
Crazy
but
doctor.
She's
what?
Raising this kid
and my question is
their will.
But they knew Ricky. So Ricky didn't come home and be like, "You don't look like Angela."
No,
Peter,
yeah.
Peter, you're Peter.
No
so true.
Yeah.
There's so many questions.
No,
so
I didn't
true.
even think about that.
Because even at the beginning, they're like, "Is
that.
Ricky home?" with their little accents.
Yeah.
He knows them. They weren't twins.
No, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I really wanted to like this more than I did like this. I will say that.
I read that they were twins. They were supposed to be.
They
never said that.
No.
they didn't look the same.
That could have helped. But I mean,
that would have actually made more sense.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I guess you're right. Watching this in '83 was probably like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I think calling it a slasher is
It's a rough. That's not actually accurate.
That's
right.
true.
Because if you look at Jason or Friday the 13th, there's motherfucking.
Well, I don't think it has the gore or the body count.
No.
If my count is correct, 1 person died by knife, 5 people died by axe off screen.
Yeah. And the rest was drowning?
It was.
And bees.
And bees.
Or shadow.
Or boiling water.
Shadow.
A shadow curling iron.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Again, off screen.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I don't know. I don't know.
And like you said, the Rose lady, she seems really nice.
Yeah.
And we go to a lot of cons.
yes.
Yeah.
And she's always.
We've seen her at Frightmare.
Yeah, she's always at Texas Frightmare, which we'll be attending if it still goes this year.
Yeah.
And she does seem really nice because she's always there.
Uh-huh.
But this movie was just so weird.
And I feel like it has really coasted on its twist ending, but twist ending wasn't earned.
No. It just kind of happened.
It just happened.
And I have to go back to Ronnie.
She's a boy.
Okay.
That's it.
Not. I don't think.
Not this child has been murdering everyone in the camp. This child is holding a severed head.
Right, or there's a head on the floor.
I mean,
yeah, there's
isn't
a
it
head
surprising
on the floor.
enough that Angela's the killer?
Yeah.
This quiet girl
that you were defending the whole movie.
The entire film.
That's right. Yeah.
You'd be like, it was Angela. Right. That would have been a better.
Yeah,
line.
yeah. Then it's a boy.
Yeah.
Why?
Like, what?
I don't
Are
know.
you the doctor?
Right. So you're just looking at this kid's piece. You're not even worried about anything else.
It's the severed head on the ground.
It's insanity.
I feel like it's just a really confused movie that could have done more.
It's something.
So I think that will lead us into ratings.
Right.
So out of 10 surprising gender reveals, I have to give this 3 out of 10 surprising gender reveals because I feel like I need to keep the bottom of this scale open.
Definitely.
Because I can't give this a 1 or a 2 because we will watch worse movies than this.
Yeah.
This was...
God, I hope not.
We will.
I hope not.
While there were a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of red herrings, a lot of bad writing, a lot of not so great acting in some places, it still was a film that in some ways was somewhat enjoyable to watch. You could watch it with a group of friends in a cringy sense. You can laugh at it. You can crack jokes like we did.
Right.
It's not like I wasn't watching it like, God, I can't wait till this is fucking over.
Oh,
I can think of a movie we've watched in the last few months that I felt that way about.
And I wasn't. And also, the movie was 84 minutes. It was very short. It wasn't very difficult to get through in that sense.
Yeah.
It's not like this movie was 2.5 hours and we're looking at our watch the whole time.
Oh my God.
It was short.
So that's my rating. I'm going to open it up. I would like to know.
No, you... Okay, do you want me to go?
I want you to go.
Okay. I'm giving it the rating that I'm giving it coming off... I've never seen the movie. I have no idea what it's about. I don't know the ending. I don't know anything about this movie. And you're right. We're probably going to watch worse movies or whatever.
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
But being a first time, not knowing anything, going in this blind, and I realize this was 83. I'm gonna say a 2.5, and that's being generous.
And I get
and
that.
it's. I think the reason I gave it that too is because it's supposed to be a slasher, but it's really not.
Yeah,
no,
it's supposed to be scary.
It's
not.
No, it's really confused.
There is other movies that are considered horror, but they play on their goofy side because they know that's what they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is like, no, we're a serious contender for being a slasher movie.
And no.
You're not.
They thought they were the next Friday the 13th.
Oh, God, no.
And
I don't even care. I'm more of a Freddy guy myself.
Yeah, I don't like Friday. Yeah. The only good Friday the 13th, in my opinion, is the first 2.
Okay, but the other ones have some lines that are okay. That have some parts.
But this didn't even live up to that.
I felt like if it knew that it wasn't, like if it knew that it was like, look, we know we're not what we say we are, it's okay. But they're like, no, we're a legitimate horror movie. We're a slasher. You're not, though.
No.
You're not. There's a lot of, like you said, like the baseball part. We didn't need to see that shit.
No.
What did that have to do with anything?
They're trying to increase the runtime.
And even
there
that,
was a lot of filler.
I would have preferred if they showed the dad and his lover and kind of drew on that.
Made more sense.
Give
me more of that.
What does this mean?
Why? Yeah. Did it... him being gay have an effect on you?
And how?
And how?
And why would it?
I mean? Yeah, and why? You're right.
There's so many avenues to take, and they open up a lot of boxes.
It's like, why?
And a lot of them are empty.
Yeah.
But what would you give this film?
Clearly, I'm the most generous at the table. I really took into account its place in the genre. I took into account the fact that if I hadn't known about the twist, I wouldn't have seen the twist coming, even though it wasn't a very good twist. I took into account the fact that I felt like they were trying to touch on a little bit more in terms of sexuality and identity. And again, they didn't fully get there.
No.
Yeah.
But I feel like they were trying a little bit. Again, I generously gave Sleepaway Camp 4 surprise gender reveals out of 10.
It's funny that a 4 is generous.
A 4 is generous. And I know it's generous. But I will say, like I said, that final shot, the full body shot with the mouth open, it is genuinely creepy looking.
It is eerie.
It is, but it's only because you can tell that's a mask.
And fair.
But it
looks
creepy.
It did look creepy, but at the same time, it's like, you're wearing a fucking mask, dude. That's not even a good mask.
It wasn't.
It looks like they superimposed this lady's head on that dude's body.
It kind of does.
So it doesn't even look good.
But again,
it's like the neck is stuck out, and
compound that with the music and the sounds,
but then the music at the credits is like a fucking.
No, that's absurd. I'm specifically talking about the final scene.
And then before it hits green and freeze frames.
Specifically that one moment. I feel like that's an iconic moment in the genre, and we kind of got to respect that.
That's very fair, and everybody talks about it.
Yeah, I gave it a 4. I know it probably doesn't deserve it, but...
So if the only part you remember of the movie is the end...
Because everybody remembers the end.
I remember the bees.
I remember a lot.
Yeah. The only thing I remember of this movie was that everyone's shorts were too small and these guys wore half shirts the entire time.
It's got its problems, okay? Nobody's saying it's I'm not even saying it's good. I'm saying we got to give it its due.
Okay, I get it. So
I feel like we gave it 3 different ratings, and I think all 3 are right.
Well, that's all from us at Pod Mortem. What would you rate Sleepaway Camp, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Twitter at the Pod Mortem. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Twitter at TravisMWH, at Blood and Smoke, and at RealStreeter84. Remember, never underestimate the silent type. Until next time.